Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about grounding techniques as part of my series on self-care, allowing you to take back control in overwhelming situations. There are many interpretations of what grounding actually is, and these tend to fall into two main categories: earthing grounding and therapy grounding. Earthing grounding involves connecting your body to the Earth's natural electrical charge by making direct contact with the Earth's surface in some way. For example, walking barefoot on the grass or touching a tree. And in Chinese culture, walking barefoot is believed to stimulate the flow of energy known as qi throughout the body. But today, I want to really focus on therapy grounding and share with you some of the basic techniques that I have used when I have needed them and that have worked for me. The focus of these techniques is to help people reconnect with the present moment and their physical surroundings, especially during times of stress and anxiety or when feeling overwhelmed with life in general. Grounding can help you feel more present, more stable, and more in control when experiencing strong emotions. You can take the power back to control these feelings by using some of these techniques. Grounding techniques often involve using the five senses, so sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste to bring your attention back to the present moment. So, grounding is when we consciously reconnect our mind and bodies to the present moment. Often, when we are in an anxious state, we often find our thoughts are in a spin and focus on worries about the future and regrets about the past. And these techniques are designed to bring you back to the present moment. One element that can enhance grounding techniques is to add in the use of essential oils. Now, you don't have to do this, and it's entirely optional and can be missed out if essential oils are not for you. But if you do choose to include them, they can add an atmosphere of calmness and relaxation. These oils can be perfect to use in oil blends, in diffusers or oil burners, which we're going to use in a moment, during meditation, or some can simply be dabbed onto the skin. But be careful because they are strong, so choose carefully which ones you dab onto the skin. Some good examples to use in grounding can be cedarwood, which I have here. And it's been described as getting a hug from Mother Earth, promoting emotional resilience and focus that is needed when grounding. Also, one of everyone's favourites, lavender. And lavender is renowned for its calming properties. It's been known to help reduce anxiety and promote restful sleep. And I have a lingering smell of lavender in the room at the moment. I've got a couple of my lavender plants here that I've brought from my herb garden. I'm drying them out at the moment so that I can make products with them later, but they are adding to the overall feeling of relaxation. Another one I've picked out is ylang ylang. This is unusual because it's an uplifting oil, but it's calming at the same time. And it's been well known to help combat stress and anxiety, leaving you feeling well balanced. The last one I've picked out is vetiver. And this is well known for its grounding and centering effects, so used a lot when using grounding techniques. These are only 4 that I've picked out. There are other oils, and any therapist will choose their favourite to use when using grounding techniques. So to help enhance that grounding effect today, I've enhanced that atmosphere by bringing in my lavender plants. But what I'm going to do now is add the essential oil to water in an oil burner that I have here. So 3 drops is sufficient. I'm just going to light the candle. And that will now permeate the air and create a calm and relaxing environment, ready for me to start going through a few of these techniques with you. The first technique that I want to share with you is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And this works as follows. You name 5 things that you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. You can do this particular technique practically anywhere, and it's easy to remember the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 formula. Don't worry if you mix them up slightly and find yourself naming 5 things that you hear and 4 that you touch. The point is for you to reconnect with the present moment through your senses. Feel free to move around. I'm just sat here so that I can be directly in front of the camera, but do feel free to move around and find things to name. Do this slowly and name each thing whilst connecting with each of your senses. And at the end of this, you should feel much calmer and more in control. So I'm just going to give you an example, and as I said, you can remain seated or you can wander around the room. But I'm going to give this a go myself at the moment. So 5 things I can see at the moment. I've got the camera that I'm looking at. I've got plant here, which is great. Try not to think, because my mind immediately wants to start talking about lavender, and the whole point of this activity is for you not to do that. It's really just to focus on naming it to bring you back to the present. So plant, picture, oil burner, candle. It's useful. 4 things you can hear. It's a difficult one for me because I'm trying to keep everything quiet at the moment, but I think I can do this. I've got the candle, the sound of my voice calming. Got the squeak of the table. squeak of my chair as well here as we go. The movement is creating noise there. 3 things you can touch. Well, I'm going to touch my lavender plant, the oil bottles, and the container that they're on, which is made of wood. 2 things you can smell. Well, I can smell the essential oils from the oil burner there, and I can definitely smell the lavender from the plants and the essential oils. 1 thing you can taste, I know I've got some water here. And I can really make sure that I taste that, and that really adds to that feeling of bringing me back into the current moment and connecting me to what's around me, which is really helpful and should help to calm you in situations where you find yourself being anxious or stressful. And that's the first of the techniques, and hopefully you will find that one useful for you. The next technique that I want to go through with you is where you're engaging again with your environment. So you start off by saying where you are, and then you describe what you see as if you are talking to someone who is not there. So describe what you smell, feel, and hear. Look to your right and describe what you see there. Look ahead and describe that. Look to your left and describe what you see. So I'm going to go through this with you and do my interpretation. So I'm sat on a chair in front of a table. I can smell the lavender essential oil in the atmosphere. I'm beginning to feel nice and calm and relaxed. I can hear the crackling of the candle. Then I'm going to look to the right, and I have a wonderful tea set on my shelf here. Then I'm going to look straight ahead, and I've got my camera in front of me. Then I'm going to look to the left, where I've got my lavender plant and the oil burner. And that simple method can help to really calm you. I've actually used this at work when I get overwhelmed, sometimes with upcoming meetings, or when I'm getting prepared to give a presentation. I use it to calm me down. I go and find a quiet corner and just bring myself back to the present moment without crowded and overwhelming thoughts, and have found that this really helps to calm me. So the third and final technique that I'm going to share with you today is called deep balloon breathing. And many therapists use this at the beginning of their treatments to create a grounding impact and a grounding effect. But you can use this in everyday situations. So you count, let me just run through what this is. You count to 4 and you breathe in, and as you inhale, focus on how the air feels coming into your nose. Be aware of how your stomach expands, followed by your chest, just like blowing air into a balloon. Hold for 4 and count to 4 in your head. And then exhale for 4, focusing on how it feels leaving your mouth and how your chest shrinks, followed by your stomach, just like a balloon does. We'll do that together now. So count in for 4. Count 4 in your head. And release for 4. And you can continue to do that as many times as you need to calm yourself down. One thing that I like to do at the end of this activity is add on a positive affirmation. So at the end, I would say to myself, for example, I am strong, I am stable, I am calm, and I am confident. And that really helps to calm me. So I've given you 3 good examples of grounding techniques today. And there are some other useful tips that might help when you first start out doing grounding and adding that into your routine. So practice is one of those. It can really help to practice grounding even when you are not experiencing distress. That way, you will be in a much better position to remember the techniques when you do need to use them. Avoid assigning what is known as values to things. So, if you are grounding yourself by describing what you see, keep it simple. When I mentioned earlier my lavender, I was wanting to go and talk about that, but the whole purpose of these grounding techniques is to bring you back to the present moment. And if you start describing in detail what you're seeing, that takes you away from the simplicity of the activity. And do use your basic surroundings rather than thinking about how you feel about things in the room. Just ground yourself by looking at them and thinking of them in simple terms. And do check in with yourself. This is important. So, what is your distress level before you start, between, say, 1 and 10? How much did it decrease by after the activity or the technique? And this might help you choose which technique is best for you. Grounding techniques can be really powerful tools, and there are many more available than the 3 that I've gone through with you. But they really do help you cope with distressing thoughts and give you the power to control them. However, if you do continue to have issues, then do seek further help from a qualified therapist or healthcare provider. So, thank you for spending the time with me and sharing some of these grounding techniques that I have personally found useful, and I hope you have found them beneficial as well. Thank you for watching.